Non-Americans who moved to the US, what are some social customs that have been the hardest for you to get used to? According to my parents, it was people giving them thumbs up. In their country of origin, thumbs up equals middle finger in the US. So they kept jumping thinking they were being flipped off by random people. Took years for them to get used to it and understand no one was trying to insult them. We had a foreign exchange student with us on a trip to the lake once. We were all going out on a speedboat to ski and boogie board. When it was her turn to go, we got her in the water and started to take in the slack. When you want the boat to go, you give a thumbs up. We were all waiting and she never did it, so we gave her a thumbs up checking to see if she was ready, and she wouldn't respond. So more people started giving her a thumbs up and she wouldn't answer. We thought something might be wrong, so we looped back around to see if there was a problem, and she was crying. She thought we were all giving her the middle finger as we drove away, and she couldn't figure out why we were being so mean. We had to explain to her that the thumbs up means good or good to go, and that we weren't flipping her off. A friend of mine is Russian. Her parents came to Russia and was still getting used to America. In Russia, when you are pulled over by the police, you get in the car and walk over to them. Her dad got pulled over, and so he got out and started walking towards them. He didn't know you are supposed to stay in the car. He learned that lesson very quickly. Edit. He didn't die, they didn't even shoot at him. He did get arrested though. I took an American friend with me one time to visit my family in Russia. We had always said that the faster you get to the cop, the more respectful it is. Never risk wasting a cop's time. So we are in the car, my friend and I, and my grandfather is driving, and a cop comes up behind us. Grandfather pulls over, barely even turns the car off before he's climbing out of it and sprinting as fast as a admittedly spry 92-year-old man can sprint towards the cop. My friend shrieked and started trying to climb out of the car. He was so sure my grandfather was going to assault a cop and get shot. It took longer to calm him down than it took my grandfather to talk to the cop. I still don't know how to get invited to parties, so there's that. Also, the drug TV ads with the long disclaimers while showing video of happy people living their lives. Really weird. Not hugging, kissing on cheek or handshake when saying hi to family. I'm from South America. Saying hi, how are you? To strangers and nobody actually answering the question. The size of food serving when going out to eat. Thanksgiving and Black Friday. And lastly, the fact that every form I have to fill out, they ask my race. I guess these are not technically social customs, or maybe they are, but I find all of the above very strange. Ugh, I'll never get used to living here. Pounds, ounces, feet, miles. I could never get the hang of it. Sales tax not being included in the price. Got pretty used to it after 4 years, but it still occasionally caught me off guard. Healthcare bills. Tailgating on highway. Even people complaining about tailgaters were themselves often tailgating. Porch sitting. People sitting on their porch and watching passers-by. Distances. Drove coast to coast. I thought it would never end. Most men being pretty knowledgeable about cars. Drive-through ATMs never stopped being funny to me for some reason. As a woman, when I first moved to the US, I felt like there was something wrong with me because I didn't do my nails, or color my hair, or wear makeup like my friends did. The way I grew up, women who were not celebrities didn't do stuff like that at that frequency. I felt like maybe I wasn't feminine enough because those things seemed so tied to femininity. Edit. To clarify, of course I don't think every single American woman is like this. It was just that I didn't know a single woman personally that did those things growing up. Perhaps it's different now. My immigrant wife has had to learn not to publicly state any broad generalizations whatsoever about racial/ethnic groups. Such things are commonly said in other countries, but are less acceptable in the US. As an Australian who lived in the US for 6 months a decade ago, there was a surprising number of strange little things that I found, despite watching a lifetime of American media and otherwise our westernized cultures being pretty much the same for the most part. Things like being called sir by people my age or older at a supermarket checkout was weird. Also the drinking culture was fun, being that all the 20-something college kids' reverence to alcohol and partying felt a bit like going back to being a teenager, since our drinking age is lower. One really weird standout for me was the crazy reverence for cultural norms and otherwise odd places, like everyone holding their hearts as the whale at SeaWorld does a backflip along to the American anthem. That was a trip, and my Swedish friend and I genuinely got glares when I laughed out loud at the absurdity of it all. This may be a San Diego thing, but I also thought that almost everyone I came across was super nice, friendly and willing to give you the time of the day, unless they were working. I'm used to being pounced on by salespeople when walking into retail shops, but I remember lots of the shops I went into the people were almost annoyed that they had to deal with a customer. And tipping culture is so alien to me. I always overtipped because I was never sure I'd get. Some people honestly react like I made their day for what I thought wasn't a big tip. Coincidentally, I forgot to tip a bartender once and I was made to feel like the worst person ever. But my favorite thing about America was how diverse it was, despite thinking the opposite based on most of the media I consumed. In California, Spanish is basically a second language, and even in America proper, someone from Seattle had some very different personality traits than someone from New York, Florida or Middle US. Australia certainly had its regional quirks, but largely we are pretty similar throughout. Lived in the US for a few years. Unsurprisingly, being from the UK, there wasn't a massive culture shock, but a few odd things. Taxes, please just include them in the ticket price, then I know if I have the right amount of change on me. Tipping, I never got the hang of who I meant to tip and how much. The fact the amount people tip seemed to vary wildly from state to state baffled me too. The best bit about coming home is I just pay for my food/drink and that's it. No headaches. Card payments. The US is far more cash reliant than Europe. Dollar bills are so convenient though. Wish we had £1 notes, which is more or less cashless by now. The fact a lot of places don't use chip and pin, let alone contactless, is crazy. The work culture, you get so few holiday days and most people didn't use them all for fear of what it looked like. In the UK, if we don't use all our days, ours normally ask us if everything is okay and can we take our days off. Fahrenheit, sorry, I still have no idea what 75 degrees is. Edit, I forgot. Playing or singing the national anthem before literally any sporting event, that's a strange one to us. For contrast, some nice culture shocks. American bars are just great. Friendly open people. Free refills on soft drinks everywhere. Not good for me, but that's a game changer. So much space, diversity of landscapes. I can drive 15 minutes out of the city and I'm literally secluded. If I drive 15 minutes out of London, I'm still in London. My wife is an immigrant, so I'll pass on a couple that she struggled with. Potluck dinners. Inviting people over to your house for a meal and then telling them to bring the food just isn't culturally acceptable in her background. She understands how the variety of foods can be exceptional and the amount of food automatically adjusts to the number of people, but it's a cultural form of hospitality that runs counter to offering what you have to your guests. The way many American families raise their children until age 18, then send them out the door to make it or beak it in the world. In many other countries, you never stop helping your children by paying for more education, vo-tech or college/university, and trying to avoid student loans. They always have a place to live free of rent and are quite involved in everyday life of the parents, even if just by phone. The way Americans are so informal in addressing elders and people with the title doctor seems disrespectful. Titles would always be used, and first names are only for people of approximately the same age and background. Women have many freedoms and professional opportunities that are not open to them in some countries. This is a good attribute of the USA,